Today I'll be reading Chapter 9 of Only Fools Rush In, a college AU by Vindicated Virgil on Tumblr, bookishpanda on AO3. Trigger warnings apply to this chapter, including vague mentions of sex and mentions of an anxiety attack. Chapter 9. The dark one is soft for the sunshine one. So take my hand and take my whole life too, 'cause I can't help falling in love with you. Virgil tapped his foot nervously, his phone to his ear. He was seated in the cafe, waiting for Roman to meet him after class. Except his boyfriend wasn't answering his phone, and, of course, Virgil was only thinking of the worst possible scenarios. He set his phone down hastily, staring at the mug with his chai latte in front of him. A chime rang through on his phone, signaling a text from Roman, and Virgil glanced at it. "Hey, babe, sorry. Doing extra rehearsals with Megan and Chloe. Rain check?" Virgil sighed, shooting back a simple, "Okay," message, then stuffed his phone into his pocket, grabbing for his latte. This was the second time that week that Roman had skipped out on their coffee dates for extra rehearsals with the main actresses, which made sense since opening night was only 2 days away, but it still made Virgil uneasy. Someone slid into the chair opposite him, and he glared up only to see Emil, a concerned look on his face as he held his mug of coffee close. "Hey, you alright, kiddo?" "Emil, not now, please." Virgil started, his head drooping down. "I'm really not in the mood for one of your pep talks right now." "Well, then I won't give you one, but hey, sometimes it's good to just chat, you know?" Emil's voice was soft, inviting, but Virgil was still unsure. "Sometimes it's nice to have an impartial audience." "You mean like a therapist, right?" Virgil's voice was almost insulting. He'd been to therapy before, and it helped him, but he was so busy with school that he didn't have time to stop by to see them, or even go to the campus counseling center. "Sometimes, but I'm kind of impartial here, and I'll remain so. Unlike last time." Emil took a deep breath in. "I am sorry about that, kiddo. I didn't mean to insult you or make you upset." "Well, you did, because you're wrong. I'm focusing on the things that are important to me right now, like the musical, and school, and Roman." Virgil trailed off, remembering where his boyfriend was at the moment. Not with him. Emil raised an eyebrow at him, taking a sip of his coffee. "It's just stressful right now." Virgil started, enticed at the idea of someone who was willing to listen to him, to offer him advice, and he decided to take that opportunity. Virgil and Emil had migrated to one of the couches in the cafe, the tall man's legs tucked under himself as he cradled a cup of herbal tea, one that Remy had brought over with raised eyebrows and a smile on his face. Virgil had opened up to Emil in a way that he desperately needed, but he also got advice from the older man about his future in the psychology major, about internships he knew would be made available the following summer, about how best to balance a relationship and school. Virgil was grateful for this, and he felt a bit guilty for the way he had treated Emil in the past. "Oh, hang on," Virgil said, interrupting what Emil was saying about the benefits of different teas, his phone buzzing in his pocket. Roman's name was large on the screen, and he accepted the call, pressing the phone to his ear. Hello? Hey, babe, I just came by your apartment, but Janice said you haven't come home yet today. Is everything all right? Roman's voice was laced with concern, and he could hear the familiar sounds of Janice's jazz music playing in the background. Oh, yeah, I'm great, Ro. I ran into Emil at the cafe, and we've been chatting for a bit, he explained, and he heard a sharp intake of breath from the other line. I was planning on heading back to my apartment soon, though. Big day tomorrow, our final dress rehearsal. You should head home to sleep. But I wanted to see you, Roman started, and Virgil shot an apologetic look at Emil. I'll be here when you get back, okay? Okay, I'll see you soon then, he said, about to hang up, but Roman's voice cut through again. I love you, he said, and Virgil smiled, his heart fluttering, but he said nothing as Roman ended the call. The anxious man brought his phone back down, glancing at Emil. I've got to get going, but thank you, Emil. I really appreciate you talking to me, he said, smiling, and Emil reached into his messenger bag, then handed Virgil a card. If you need me, my cell is on there, Emil said, reaching over to ruffle Virgil's hair a bit. You got this, kid. Virgil swung open the door to the apartment, the jazz music a dull background noise. He spotted Roman on one of the couches, his head resting on the cushions behind him, so Virgil came up and gave him a swift kiss. Hey, Ro. The shorter man beamed up at him, standing up so he could wrap his arms around his boyfriend. I wasn't planning on staying at the cafe that long, but it was good to chat with Emil about psychology stuff. Well, I'm glad you had that chance, babe, Roman said, kissing Virgil's chin and cheeks. I'm so sorry about missing out on our date again. Megan and Chloe were both feeling anxious about some of the scenes, and they're scenes I'm in, so... It's okay, Ro. I'm not upset. Virgil started, but he thought a bit. Any more, that is. I was frustrated when I got your text, but Emil helped me realize that I'm not the only important thing to you right now, and that sometimes it's good for me to let go a bit. What? No, that's not true, V. Roman whined, tightening his grip on Virgil. You're the most important thing to me always. Please don't let go. Ro, it's okay. The musical was really important to both of us. It's fine. Virgil was cut off by Roman's lips pressing to his neatly, and all rational thought flew out of his mind as he gripped the back of Roman's shirt tightly. Shit, if you keep kissing me like that, You'll what, babe? Want more? Roman teased, a smirk playing at the edge of his lips. You mean everything to me, babe. If you needed me to, I'd drop out of the musical right now. If you have a panic attack during the performances, I'll shove my understudy out there, just so that I can be there for you. Ro. Virgil buried his face in the shorter man's shoulder, biting down on his lip and hoping the tears would stay in his eyes. Don't say stuff like that unless you want me to become a puddle of emotions. Maybe I do want that, Virg. Roman woke up feeling more content than he ever had. He glanced up to see Virgil's sleeping face, their bare chests still pressed together, the marks on their bodies remnants of what happened the night prior. It was fumbly, it was awkward, but Roman wouldn't change it for the world. He traced his fingers along Virgil's collarbone, watching as the other's eyes slowly fluttered open, meeting his, a blush soon covering the tall man's face and neck. Hi, Ro. Good morning, my love, Roman said, pressing kisses to the skin closest to his face. Virgil hummed happily at the movement, his fingers tangling in Roman's hair. Thank you for last night. Virgil breathed out softly, a faint smile on his face. Sorry about... No, don't apologize for anything, babe. It was magical and wonderful, and I can't wait to do it again. Roman waggled his eyebrows a little bit at this, making Virgil laugh a little. I almost don't want to get out of bed, but we should get ready, then pack up some coffee, then head over to the theater. But the dress rehearsal doesn't start until 11, Virgil protested, hoping that maybe they'd be able to spend a bit more time in bed. He glanced at the clock. A glaring red 8:30 stared back at him. Roman nodded. I know, but I have a surprise for you, my love. Virgil held his iced coffee tightly as he followed Roman to the theater. He hated surprises, and even though this was something that his boyfriend had planned for him, he was still anxious about it all. Was Roman going to break up with him in the same place where they had fallen in love? Roman made Virgil cover his eyes with his hand after they set their stuff down in the green room, and then with one hand he led the taller man onto the main stage. Virgil didn't hear anything other than his own heart beating rapidly and the soft coos coming from Roman, but he was stopped on what he assumed was the middle of the stage. Was it above the trap door? Was he being pranked? Was there water on the stage? And then the instrumental to Dancing Through Life was playing throughout the theater, the same way it had that day he had scooped Roman into his arms as they danced together for the first time. Virgil lowered his hand from his face, finding Roman standing there, his hand outstretched, a grin plastered on his face. Take my hand? Roman asked, and Virgil nodded gently, taking Roman's hand and letting himself be led in a dance across the stage, although this time they weren't afraid to stand as close as possible to each other. I want you to know how proud I am of you, Virg. You're going to do so great in our performances, and I love you so goddamn much. Virgil couldn't form any words, so he just pressed his forehead to Roman's as they continued cascading across the stage, their grips on each other tight, as if letting go would break them. What did I do to deserve someone like you loving me? You didn't need to do anything. You deserve the whole world, and I'm just lucky to be able to love you and hold you. Roman whispered softly, pressing even closer to Virgil. I already have the whole world. It's you, Virgil said, the confidence growing in him, and he could feel the words tumbling out of his mouth before he could stop them. I love you, Roman. No other words were said, as lips crashed together, all emotions being shared in that one touch. Roman and Virgil were standing off stage, peeking every now and then around the corner at the audience. It was finally opening night, and they could see their friends in the second row. Patton's head resting on Remus's shoulder, and Janice leaning over to whisper things to Logan. Roman set his hand on Virgil's back in a comforting manner, causing the taller man to turn around to smile at his shorter boyfriend. You all right, V? Virgil nodded, glancing down at his slip-resistant shoes, then leaned down to kiss Roman. I'm perfect, Ro. I couldn't have done any of this without you, you know? He pressed their foreheads together, smiling against Roman's painted lips. Thank you for supporting me through all of this. Roman wanted to object, but he knew that Virgil would just remind him of their nights practicing for the auditions, their super early mornings running lines, the way Roman was always there to watch Virgil's scenes. Virgil was there too, always supporting, always smiling, even when his anxiety got the best of him, even when it was hard to focus. You're gonna be amazing, Virgil, he finally said, pressing their lips together once more. You deserve a whole standing ovation. After every scene, even though time was tight, their hands grasped each other. Bright smiles sent their way, and encouraging whispers were murmured in the darkness. During intermission, Roman's hand couldn't bear to leave Virgil's waist, even as they were both prepped for their major outfit changes. Virgil watched all of the kiss scenes, knowing that Roman saved the best kisses for him. When they were on stage together during curtain call, Virgil cheered louder for his boyfriend, except for maybe Patton and Janice, who could clearly be heard from even their seats. It took the pair a while to get their thick patinas of makeup off their faces, shrugging out of their costumes and into their comfortable day clothes, lips and hands wondering when no one was paying attention. The other actors filed out to meet their loved ones. Even those with more intense makeup, like the actress for Elphaba, finished before them as they snuck behind a curtain, comforting touches meeting hot, bare skin. The others tried to get the couple to go out after the performance, since the cast had saved the after-party for after the final performances. But Virgil's eyes drooped and Janice stepped in, making sure the pair were safely tucked into Roman's bed, Janice covering his eyes when the couple's hands wandered too far down. Ro, you and Janice are coming to the cast party later, right? Chloe was wiping off the Glinda makeup, her eyes tired but content. All of the performances had gone on without a hitch, and now they were done. It was an odd feeling, something that they had been working so hard towards for months, finally coming to an end. Yeah, we're gonna stop by for a bit, right, babe? Roman had already wiped his makeup off and was helping hold Virgil's hair back as the silver paint was removed from the anxious man's face. Virgil nodded, not saying anything as he wiped over his mouth. You finally going to make a move on Megan? Ro! Chloe's face turned bright red, and Virgil raised an eyebrow at the two. Well, now I feel better about the fact that you two kissed my boyfriend, Virgil muttered teasingly, and then they all stiffened as Megan came around the corner, humming the tune to Defying Gravity, the green paint removed from her body for the final time. Please, your boyfriend can kiss you all he likes. I felt nothing from him, she said, her voice a bit strained. Ugh, I need more tea. I just heated up some water in the green room, someone else said, walking past, and she groaned out a quick thanks, walking off. As soon as she was out of earshot, Chloe smacked Roman on the shoulder. I cannot believe you, she whined, pouting a little. What if she heard you? So, you want to be with her, so you should go for it, like I did with Virg, Roman said, smirking, but Virgil glanced over his shoulder again, raising an eyebrow at his boyfriend. Excuse me, I was the one who initiated our audition practices and our first dance, he pointed out, and Roman scoffed. Yeah, well, he huffed, crossing his arms. I kissed you first. Chloe rolled her eyes, knowing this would take a while, and walked off, letting the couple continue their bickering. Virgil wasn't exactly sure how he ended up perched on a tree branch, but he didn't mind. It was nice and cool outside, the music from inside bleeding out to the backyard of the director's house where the staff party was being held. He had Roman's coat around his shoulders and was watching as Chloe and Megan sat on a bench near a different tree, talking in low whispers, Chloe's hand trailing onto Megan's thigh, their shy smiles and blushes visible even though only the light was the moon and some fairy lights. Virgil had sent Roman in to socialize. It was his thing anyways, and not really Virgil's cup of tea. Every once in a while, Roman would peek his head out of one of the sliding doors, and Virgil would shoot him a sweet smile and a thumbs up. He glanced down at his phone, checking the time, then shoved the tech back into his pocket, swinging his legs a bit. He heard giggles from the pail of girls, so he redirected his attention to them, only to notice them kissing, Megan's hands tangled in Chloe's short blonde hair. Virgil smiled, eyes closing as he leaned his head onto the main trunk of the tree, memories flooding him of his first kiss with Roman, and the many kisses they had shared since that day. It surprised him that it had only been 8 weeks since they got the roles in the play, and now it was all over. Virgil was already thinking ahead to the next production. Performing was a bit much for him, so he knew he'd be working as a tech in the winter and spring productions. But he also knew it was time to start figuring out how he wanted to use his psychology degree. He was a year older than Roman, and he'd be graduating in less than 2 years. Emil had suggested some summer internships, emailed him the applications, and Virgil knew it would be the next logical step to apply and try to get those spots. He had professors he could get recommendations from, and Emil was a face that many in the area were familiar with. His whole life was around the corner. Except all he wanted to do was storm into the house, grab Roman by the collar, and kiss him into oblivion. He didn't do that, of course. He stayed on the branch, deep in thought, and eventually he felt hands on his thighs and lips ghosting over his own. Come on, babe. Let's get you home before you fall asleep and take a tumble out of that tree, Ro, he asked as the two were walking home, their hands intertwined. Virgil was humming, his hands swinging childishly, and he glanced over at Virgil, a smile on his face. Do you ever think about the future? Virgil asked, shocking himself with his tenacity. Roman looked surprised too, but let Virgil finish his thought. It's just, do I want to be a therapist? Become a psychologist? I don't know what I want to do with my degree, but I know I want to help people. He sighed, but Roman squeezed his hand gently. I think it's okay not to know, Virg. People like Logan and Patton have their whole lives planned out. But I mean, I don't, he admitted, and Virgil raised an eyebrow. Like, yes, I want to act and perform, but it's so hard to be successful. If I only ever do community performances, I'll be happy. But I'll have to figure out something else to be able to afford to live, you know? I could support you, Virgil muttered, face turning red, and he silently hoped that Roman didn't hear what he had said. He was not so lucky, though. Well... Virgil cleared his throat. They hadn't talked much about their future together, but both had hopes that they'd continue to be together. That's a lot to ask of you, but I'd appreciate all the love and support you'd give me, if that's what you want. I do want that. Virgil slowed to a stop, the pairing standing under a streetlight, and Roman looked up into his boyfriend's eyes. If you want to be this incredible community star, then I'll support all of it. If you end up on Broadway traveling the world, then I can support that too. What about you then? Roman asked, his hand pressing over Virgil's heart as the two stood closer, their breath visible in the cool air. Virgil shrugged, smiling. I can help people anywhere, but there's only one you, Ro. Roman was taking the steps down 2 at a time, and when he looked up he saw Emil standing at the entrance of the building. He hesitated, but then decided to chat with the older man. Hey, Picani. Hi, Roman. I saw one of your performances. You did wonderfully, Emil said, a bright smile blending across his features. Oh, thank you. Roman rubbed the back of his neck, smiling a bit sheepishly. I just, wanted to thank you for being a good mentor for Virgil. No thanks necessary. I'm happy to help, Emil responded. Then he pursed his lips in thought. Has he heard back from the internship application yet? Huh? Oh, no. I guess he'll be hearing back after finals, Roman said, then glanced at his watch. I should get going. I have a final, but thank you again. Sure thing, kiddo. Virgil was running up the steps to Roman's apartment when he heard a call from behind him. He stopped, glancing down to see Emil waving up at him. Hey, Virgil! I saw the musical. You did great, he called, and Virgil smiled, nodding. Thanks, Emil. He continued his run up the stairs, then knocked on the door once before it was opened by Roman. He practically flung himself into his boyfriend's arms. Ro, guess what? What is it, my love? Roman asked, a chuckle behind his cheerful voice. I got the internship for next summer that I applied for. I get to be an assistant on a psychological trial, he exclaimed, pulling back so Roman could see the bright smile on his face. It's a paid internship, too. Oh, I'm so happy for you. Congratulations, Roman responded happily, leaning up to capture Virgil's lips in his own. We should go out to celebrate. I have something else in mind, Virgil said, a smirk on his face as he pulled Roman past all the moving boxes and towards his boyfriend's bedroom. The future wouldn't be so scary as long as they had each other's hands to hold.